Well now, once again it's been a while. Let me update you real quick and tell you about what I'm doing now and what issues I'm running across. So, first of all, I am working on a chunk of synthetic corundum. So, a synthetic lab created sapphire. The color is known as Podparacha, or at least it's trying to imitate Podparacha color, which is a very coveted kind of sapphire. If this sapphire were of this quality and size and were real, it would be enormously expensive. I don't even want to guess how much, but sorry about the camera there. Since this sapphire is from a piece of synthetic corundum, which I've cut, it comes in these half boules, B-O-U-L-E-S, a half boule. So I cut off half of the half boule with my cutting machine there, also known as a saw. So I cut that off, and then I've been grinding this sucker down. I barely even remember where we left off, but in any case, this is my first paid gig. I have been cutting some stones for a cousin who is a Tibetan Buddhist and is going to be doing a ritual with a number of objects, including gemstones. And I'm not going to show you each one of these, but I'll just show you. Yeah, so I've been cutting stones, and I'm trying to get them more or less the same size, not the same shape. They're each different designs. That's a tourmaline, that's a synthetic ruby, that's an amethyst, and that is citrine. Okay, without going into all that, what I can tell you is this stone that I'm cutting is a unique design, and I now use design software. I actually had my 11-year-old son design this, believe it or not. He's a talented guy. And it is based upon a Tibetan symbol called the dorje. And this is the rendering in the software that we use, my son and I, to design these stones. This is what the stone is supposed to look like when we're done. It's an unusual cut. It's very deep. Meaning kind of thick from top to bottom, from the culate, this point here, to the crown, relative to the width. And it produces this lovely, yeah, that's about it. It produces this lovely sort of complex, glittering X, if you will, with, you can see kind of the diamond in the middle of this section here, but then the proper dorje part is this cross here, because what we're imitating, and let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, well, that's interesting. That must be from a friend of mine's house. Objet d'art. Artistic things he has there. It's a little awkward, but let me see if I can pull up the dorje itself. That, yeah, here it is. So this is the inspiration. I showed my son this object, this photo, and asked him to design a stone that vaguely imitates some aspects of that. And this is what he came up with, and I thought it was quite lovely. So I just I played with it a bit in the design software to see if I could make it be a little more shallow, and what I came up with was not nearly as nice as what he did. So I kept what he did, and so this is dorje designed by Solomon, and yeah, and I'm cutting it. So what can I tell you? Corundum is hard. It's got a Mohs hardness of 9, and what I am encountering, so first of all, there's this issue of what do you cut with? There's a nicer rendering. As you can see, this thing sets the refractive index, which is a reflection of, no pun intended there, the density of the stone, and in turn how much it bends light. Dispersion, Sapphire apparently doesn't have very much. And then the colors is we had to tweak the colors to imitate the Podparacha, the imitation Podparacha that we have. Now let me clarify this stuff. When we say synthetic sapphire, it means that chemically it's essentially the same as sapphire. Focus is always an issue here. If I put my hands up, somehow the camera understands a little better and focuses properly. So it's chemically the same. It's aluminum oxide, it's ruby, it's sapphire, it's corundum. It's the same stuff, but this is lab created, and we won't get into how they do that. I'm studying gemology now, so I could tell you all about that, or I could tell you something about that, but it's not that interesting to me, and maybe not that interesting to you, so you can always look up how they do it. I think it's the flame fusion process, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, once again, it is the same in many ways, chemically and structurally, as sapphire, but at a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost for one of this color and clarity and size. All right, so that clarified, ha ha ha. We have some settings here, and what did I want to bring your attention to? Nothing here. Okay, put it away. And so here's the design itself, and so I'm cutting away, and I have this complex pavilion to complete, which has some weird angles, like these 76-degree angle facets along the edges. This is actually all that's left of the 90-degree girdle, so it doesn't really have a girdle. It's quite an unusual stone. My son tends to break all the rules, which is why I like his designs. And then we have this really complex, well, not that complex. We have this somewhat complex pavilion that underlies the Dorje-like X or cross, if you like, of the finished stone as viewed from above, as viewed from the crown, above the crown, the way you'd see it on a ring. And then this is the pavilion if you were to turn the stone over. Oops. If you were to turn the stone over and look at it like that, the light doesn't play the way we'd want it to, because that's not the way we're going to be looking at the stone. We're going to be looking at the stone like this. And I'll have another video about design, so we won't get too much into that. Now, on to, already at 9 minutes? Okay, well, good. The YouTube will like it, because apparently they like 10 to 20 minute videos now in terms of the search algorithm. So maybe more of you will see this one. Now, over here we have the stone, and here's where we run into some technical limitations. But let's see how we can do. Adjust the light. So part of what I'm teaching here is that I'm learning, and how I'm learning. And I'm learning many things, including how the heck to film stones. Well, it doesn't take, that's, by the way, that's not blood. Though we do sweat blood. That's just a mark from some of my record keeping here. I'm using a marker, a red marker, to distinguish which lap I'm using. I started with, here's a critical issue, okay? So if you've been watching and starting to get bored, now's a good time to pay attention. So I started with a 260 lap. That is a controversial move on my part, in a sense, because this is a rather crude lap, rather harsh lap. It takes away a lot of material at a time because the size of the diamond mesh is fairly big. You can see those individual diamond grains even in this video. So what it does is it takes away a lot of material because I had a large stone that was very inexpensive. The whole half boule cost me all of $10. So you can see the enormous, crazy disparity between a synthetic laboratory synthesized stone of the same species as the real deal, which would be thousands and thousands and thousands in this color, clarity, and size. Okay, and then, so why is this a controversial thing? Because it causes what's called subsurface damage. It scrapes so crudely that it leaves scratches way down deep in the structure of the stone. So some people have told me, don't use that. Never use the 260. Start with the 600. Well, the problem is if you've got a really big stone, and now you'll recall that corundum is very hard. It's got a hardness of 9 on the Mohs scale. If you start with this nicer, or not nicer so much as finer 600, where you can't really see the individual grains anymore. I don't know what that number refers to, by the way. It's just a number. Someone out there knows. They can post it in the comments if enough people watch this. So the 600 grain is going to be exceptionally slow at grinding down this honkin' big chunk of sapphire, or synthetic sapphire, which is just as hard, as I said, as a real sapphire, which is to say, pretty hard. Nothing like a diamond. That's a whole other conversation about how bloody hard diamonds are. 100 times as hard, apparently. In any case, some people would say you should have started with the 600, but I was not interested in doing that, and I posted on Facebook group this question of someone's opinion that you should never use 260 because it causes too much subsurface damage. Now, the gentleman who told me this, and it's a very defensible position, and I'll show you why. The gentleman who told me that designed this lap, and this lap is what I use after a 600, or if I can, if it's a small enough stone, I just start with this lap. This is called the T2, the Twister 2, and it is a super sophisticated proprietary compound. Sometimes leaves greenish residue, but in any case, it does a wonderful job of both cutting and pre-polishing. But it cuts very, very slowly because, well, you certainly can't see the diamonds on this because they're microscopic at this point. So all this to say, let's have a look at this honking, I like that word, scratch. There's the subsurface damage. Alright, so if this video is about anything, it is about a few things, I think, but it's about why you might want to sit and grind 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 with your 600 rather than take the quick way out and use your 260 to take it down to size. Because now I've got this big, fat scratch. And as you'll see, if I rotate the stone, free it up from the index for a second, from the wheel, if I rotate the stone 90 degrees or so, you'll see that that's not the case in all of the, not the case in all of the facets on the edges that I've been doing here. Some of them are just fine. The angle of the light's not quite right. Just the angle of the light. Turn the stone. Move the camera. Yeah. All right. So there's a nice clean facet, and where's our scratched? There's our scratched facet. Oh boy, is that going to be hard to remove, because I don't want to cut this all over again, and I'm already down to the twister, which, as you can see, cuts to the point that it's pre-polishing. If you look at the facets up top, they're pretty matte. They're not shiny. Oh boy. Might have to get a professional camera, eh? Yeah, well, when they start paying me, okay? These facets, on the other hand, are shiny and clean because they've been cut on the T2, which is such a wonderful thing, because it cuts as it pre-polishes. But that is to say, it removes a very little bit at a time. So if we're at this crazy 76-degree angle and we want to get that number to go down, these are hundredths of a degree in terms of the angle. Just to get that to go down from, say, 76.36 to 76.32 is quite a bit of grinding, believe it or not, with a substance this hard, with facets as large as this. So I've already ground this a good bit, and although I know it's hard to see, it's not hard to see that sucker is scratched and nastily. So that scratch was formed, presumably, because I had a crystal clear piece of synthetic corundum. That scratch was formed when I ground this down with the 260. Okay, hopefully I'm not pounding that point through too hard and not grinding you as a observer, a viewer, too much. Okay, next video, I believe I will try to follow up on how things went with this synthetic sapphire, maybe show off the final stone, both the things I like about it and the things that I will undoubtedly be a little unhappy about, because they will not be perfect. And then in yet another video, I expect I'll talk a little bit more about how does this whole design thing work? How can an 11-year-old with no background, hardly any background, or for that matter, a 49-year-old with relatively little background in these things, how can we go ahead and design a stone with software like this? Well, if we can do it, you can do it too. And I can show you how, but not this time. Bye-bye.